Welcome back to Bird Dog Gaming, guys. If you know anything about me, it is that I exclusively use eBay sold listings as my reference for what a game is worth. For better or for worse, that is hands down the most accurate way to gauge a game's value. But that may be changing in the very near future. Today I have had the pleasure of interviewing Jason, the founder of Mynty.gg, a brand new price tracking website that may actually fix most of the issues that we've been complaining about as collectors for way too long now. Jason is actually a really cool and knowledgeable collector who I'm really glad I got to sit down with. I think I got to ask a lot of the questions that you guys probably had about the website. We talked for over a half an hour, and a lot of the answers I got were pretty surprising, I'm not gonna lie. Spoiler alert, this website shows some serious potential. And without further ado, here's the conversation we had. I am here with Jason, the founder of Mynty.gg. It is all the rave right now. Welcome, Jason. Thank you for letting me do this little interview with you. How's it going, man?
It's going. Thank you for having me. Excited to be here. I'm doing well.
I'm not going to take up a whole lot of your time today. Let's go ahead and jump into a little bit of your background, maybe just a minute or two of how you got into this. Are you even a video game collector? And yeah, what exactly is Mynty?
Okay. Yes, I am a video game collector. I've been collecting for quite a while. Started back probably 2002. All Nintendo stuff, everything NES. And then I started breaking or branching into consoles that I used to play when I was around around that era, which was like Atari, PlayStation, Super Nintendo, all that. Yeah, definitely a collector. Um, and Mynty is a price evaluation website first and foremost, and then it is a video game collection tracker, and then last is kind of a social media tool in a way. Not really, but you can follow other collectors and share your collection with fellow collectors.
So this website is going to be replacing a couple of other websites that collectors have been trying to use for the last decade, probably. Now, Craig and I, over on Collective Perspective, we have complained a lot about how these websites don't have correct information. They don't track variants very well. They don't talk about. It's very hard to track condition, and it seems like you're trying to, Mynty is trying to cover every base, and we're going to get into all of that today. But I guess to get started here, the biggest question I have is how are you inputting the games? Because it doesn't look like you just copied and pasted something from another website. There isn't 296 Nintendo 64 games when I click on this link yet. So, what are you doing this one by one, or how's it working?
Yeah. Every single console, I've done a bit of my own research, and then there's a lot of peers that I have who are collectors, credible collectors, ones that we all know, who have curated lists for particular consoles, and I've gone through and we've looked at each game, and we made sure that we're covering most, if not everything, that collectors should know about. I should say this though. Right now, we don't have every game, and that's because of the time and energy it takes to kind of generate everything. But for instance, the games that we do cover, I wanted to make sure that we had all of the variants for the games that we're tracking. Now, I'm not going to say that we have everything or we've covered every single variant for the titles that we do cover, but we do plan on covering that. And if anybody has any suggestions or knows that there are variants that we don't have, then they can just hit us up and we'll try to add those in. But yeah, no, everything is inserted one by one. It lives on our database. We're not pulling numbers from anywhere else. This is 100% modified and created by us, by me.
So by you meaning you're the only one running Mynty.
Well, there is a development team and
Okay.
others who help build the site, but yeah, no, when it comes to operations, yeah, it's just me.
Okay. I was just curious. That's crazy, man. Uh, First impressions, I mean, I just made an account a couple days ago, and the homepage looks great. It looks very professional, looks very pretty. Okay, so let me pull up a game here for this next one. So I go to Super Nintendo. Um, we look at Donkey Kong Country.
Okay.
So I click on CIB. Okay, I'm actually not finding what I was thinking I was going to find. So some
So
games have.
right now you're in the overall sort of hub of Donkey Kong. So what this page particular is doing is taking all of the variant data, specifically each individual game, and it's throwing it all here. So this is kind of a an overall look of all of the data combined.
I
So if you
see. So
go
I can't just add this to my collection because this is all the DKCs. It's not a specific release.
exactly, because if you had a version of one of these games, you then you're going to want to add the specific variant of that game to your collection, not Donkey Kong in general.
I like it.
Yeah.
Um, so let me click on a variant here. We have tracked sales. So first of all, I guess I'm going to ask you where. So this says venue. This is the most interesting thing to me. It says eBay, and so that makes me believe that there's going to be more sites that you're going to be pulling the data from. So I guess my question is, what websites would that be? Would those be?
I can call out Macari right now.
Okay.
So at some point, very, very soon, we're going to start rolling in Macari data. And the cool thing about that is you'll be able to filter or through either just Macari data or eBay data or both together.
That is, I didn't expect that at all. That's freaking awesome, man.
Yeah,
I
soon,
think
very, very soon. Yeah, I'm excited about that as well.
that's going to be very helpful. Okay, so this chart here, all these charts start from November 2022. Are you going to be taking it back further? Are you going to be using other people's data to track, like, before November 2022? Or are we just going to start here and go forward for the rest of the site?
That's a good question. I see. I have considered going back to get numbers, but the issue that we run into with that is there's no conditional data for any of these games. And I
Right.
think one of the hard decisions that we might have to make is just to make to say we're just going to go forward. And I know for some that hurts because there's a lot of data that we're missing out on years and years and years. But I think for what we're trying to do, it works now. And we're able to see price data for I think it's 6 months back actually. So if you go to 6 months, there's a
Oh,
six
okay.
M. Yeah, so if you hit that, it'll expand. So there is some data that goes back, but I think it starts at May. But I think to answer your question, I'm not sure if we're going to go any further back. That may change. But for now, the focus is just to move forward.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, there is a lot of bad data out there, and you're right. Condition, if you're trying to track the condition on this site, then there really is absolutely no way to check that. Now, I do really, really appreciate this right here. I assume this takes the very first picture from the eBay listing and puts it here.
That's correct. That's correct. Yeah,
That
I wanted
is
to make sure that you guys, that everybody who's looking at this data can actually see what we consider to be good or minty at this point. Because, I'm one of those guys too who goes to price charting, for instance. Shout out to price charting. Um, I want to know. I want to know where this data is coming from. I want to know um, why certain things is why it's put there, right? And not all the time we don't get it right, but I just want a reference check. And so I thought it was important to add that so everybody can look into this stuff. And by the way, we know when we go to price charting, we'll look at some older data that's kind of sitting below, and if we try to follow that to go to eBay, it's the link is expired. So those images will not expire. You can always count on our data being real and hopefully as accurate as possible. So
That
yeah,
is
if you hit that, you'll be take yeah, if you yep, it's gonna take you to eBay.
that's incredible. So is this going to what happens when something is more than 3 months old? Because that's how far you can go back with eBay solds.
So the picture will still be there because the images live on our database.
Uh-huh.
So if you go actually do this, go to 6M and then um, I think there's a filter where you can like search like the oldest to newest.
Okay.
Is that possible? So if you do that, then it'll have a dead link, but it will not
Okay.
the image will be there. So you'll be able to look into that to see an actual photo.
Okay. I don't want to
Yeah.
fumble around and try to figure it out right now, but that is that's pretty awesome actually. You mentioned Mynty versus Good, and I wanted to get into that, so let's go ahead and take another random game here. My first question is why only two conditions for when you're adding something to your collection? So here we have loose, complete, sealed, and then it's either Mynty or Good.
It's a great question. Originally, I had considered four condition categories, um, but we're talking little old me here. So, it's a lot of work. Um, it's let me say this. Our data is going to be accurate because it's not automated. It's not there is automation involved, but it's not completely fully automated. So what we're talking about here is we get data, it's sorted to the best of its ability, and then a human takes over and decides whether or not something is in good condition or not. So you can imagine if you're going through a game like SMB1 and you have, 12, 13 different variants, not only are you sorting through maybe, I don't know, 2,000 pieces of data, but you're also then resorting through, a bunch of different subcategories and then subcategories. So what we decided to do, and I say we because I'm talking about my developers too. They're a really good soundboard for me, but we want to start small, and so we have Mynty and we have Good. Um, but as we progress and as we grow, as we expand, um, and if there's more resources available, we will scale. And I think, looking at maybe three categories in the near future is possible, and then even to four, where I really wanted this to be, which would have been Mynty, very good, good, and acceptable. But we only have two right now.
So what is it in the eBay sold listing that makes it Mynty or Good?
Um, so I've sort of defined it, and let me pull this up because I'm just gonna read it. It's easier for me to read it rather than um, freestyle that. But so minty condition or mint condition refers to it being an extremely good to flawless condition. Um, so if it's considered minty, it's not like literally pristine. It is pristine good, but then there could be a margin of a bit of wear, but absolutely no creases. So if it's a CIB that is considered mint, in almost all cases you'll never see a crease on the box. You may see some wear on a corner, but I mean, I see a bunch of games behind you. You know what a really, really solid CIB looks like. One that fetches top dollar, you know. That's what Minty is considered. And then if it's not that, it's everything else.
Right.
And what's funny about that is my assumption of how this was going to work, even before we started seeing the data, was true. We would separate the data, and then I would look at the games that got the low end dollar, and they are all trashed. And so
Okay.
it like literally brought a smile to my face because the bottom like 7% of games are just ripped and torn. And what's even more interesting is there's a lot of that going on because there is a huge group of casual play not even I wouldn't even call them collectors. I would just call them like gamers who are buying up video games to play. Like they don't really care what SMB3 looks like at all. They'll just buy the one with the rip label because it's affordable. Um, and then some people just, and some people want it to look great. Some people are trying to, get a higher score on that Frankenstein CIB from WADA, and they're gonna spend $78 on, an SMB3 loose cart, which is usually an outlier, but it's extremely interesting. But that's how we consider condition.
I guess what I'm asking you is, if I'm looking at this disc on eBay and I'm looking at this disc on eBay, these have two different conditions. What data would you be taking from eBay to get this on your website right here? Um, because I know that it's not the eBay, like what the seller put as the condition, because anyone can go in and say a game is brand new when it's clearly not, acceptable but it's actually minty, things like that.
So right, and we also see those tags, and that's sort of what's helping us sort, but like you said, it's usually wrong. So what we're doing is we're literally observing these games.
You're
It,
going through every sold listing and inputting this information.
just about, yeah.
Wow.
We've identified and yes, it is that kind of crazy, but um, the system that we've built helps us streamline this process.
Okay.
So, for instance, a game like Castlevania, for us to um, sort through that could take anywhere from maybe 7 to 12 minutes, maybe
Yeah,
even
that's
less
crazy.
sometimes. Yeah.
I
But think of it this way too, because you're looking at like if you go down, you're looking at variants, and one of those, if you slide that over, so go to that arrow and slide that over. Oh, okay, that is fully slid. So that last Castlevania there that you're looking at, or that's
mhm.
fully to the right, that's a GH. I forget the last letter of the acronym, but essentially that Castlevania is a Blockbuster exclusive. Not very many people know about that. And the only way that you can identify that game is if you look at the SLUS code at the bottom left corner of the game. And
I know
there's no
exactly
way
what you're
to,
talking about.
yeah, there's no way to identify that other than literally looking through every listing.
I had no idea that that's what was going on behind the scenes. I mean, that's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
Very ambitious to say the least.
Yeah.
Uh,
But as you
wow.
can see, not every game has sort of those sort of details. So if you're looking at a game that doesn't have variants, I mean, you're talking something that could potentially be automated. So not everything requires as much, you know, uh, research
Yeah.
as the next game. So it just depends. Super Mario Brothers, nightmare. Um, what else is a nightmare? Oh, Final Fantasy is a nightmare.
Right.
um, Zelda for NES is a nightmare. Games like that, but the return, but this is what I've always wanted as a collector. I can't stand looking at a back then looking at a game and going, "There's no way that this game is worth what you're saying it's worth,"
Right.
because First of all, it's not even the same version. It's not the TM version, and you got you got a classic. Well, actually, they've separated that, but you have every single type, oval and round, rolled into baked into one average, like in the middle average. That to me is just it's pointless, if you really think about it. So let's
Right.
change them.
Yeah. I mean, you're speaking to every collector out there that feels the same way. Everyone has, condition and variants are the biggest thing, and a black label. I mean, that Castlevania was a great comparison because the the price that you see a Symphony of the Night selling for on another price tracking website is it's all lumped in with the greatest hits, which notoriously sells for like $50 less than the black label any day of the week. Um, so yeah, very
And
I love it.
another point to that, we don't have this game, but Toy Story 2, um, not not a lot of people know that the greatest hits version is extremely rare.
Mm,
And we have that information, like we will have that information. We did track that game. I just took it away. Um, but that's another great thing about Minty here is not just tracking separately, right? Understanding that idea, but it's knowing that you can come to Minty and you can discover variants, um, you know, with some of your favorite games or games that you have didn't even know existed, right? You can just kind of come to this list and you can click some of these expansion buttons and look at what exists. Another thing we're doing, and I'm not sure how many people love this, but WADA is a resource, and they've tracked quite a few games. And for those who like graded games, we have full intention of giving all of that, not giving that data, but um, supplying that data here for collectors who love graded information. So everything from population reports to eBay solds to auction sales, we're working on that right now. But the point I was trying to make is that they have the variant data, so we're kind of linking those together. If you go to WADA and see kind of the way that they're titling things, it's very similar to what Minty is doing. We have to set a standard, I guess. And I'm not saying that WADA is the authority, but we all got to start. We got to start somewhere. You know?
right.
Yeah.
No, I'm glad you bring up the way the pop reports are laid out and everything. I think a lot of people really hate graded games, but I'm not one of those people. And I go to the WADA pop reports and I see all the variant information. It's laid out just like this, and it's so useful whether you collect graded games or not. This is the kind of stuff that I really love to look into, and yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
We also we have images specifically for every single variant.
Oh,
Um,
would you look at that?
so if you go into any one of these games with a variant, they you could actually examine the images, and they are tailored to per the variant. So these are if you want to know what they look like, we have the images here.
Fantastic. That's what I like to see.
Yeah. And so the little, nuances, what we're going to do, what I'm working on is if you go up, scroll up, you click the image, you'll notice a pop-up appears, so it does get bigger.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
and so I want to throw in more images that actually magnify what you're looking at because this Dracula's Curse is obvious. There's an actual sticker on this one, but
Mm-hmm.
or I don't think it's a sticker. Actually, I think that's print. But
Right.
there's one without that, so it's easy. That's easy identifiable. But there's games where the only difference is like a sentence in the back of the game, sort of like Sonic the Hedgehog, um, which is all available here now.
No, I'm glad we did this call because going through this website, I didn't even notice these little fine details, man. That's freaking awesome.
Thanks, dude. Yeah, it had to be. That was one of my pet peeves. Is I love Wada's pop reports. I just love for the information, but it's like, okay, cool. Zelda TM round SOQ, and then it's like, well, what does that mean? Like, show me what that means. I want to know more. So I made sure, because that bothers me, that we're going to show people what that actually means so they can identify. It's fun, once you learn what something is and what it looks like, you're like, okay, I'm going straight to eBay, or I'm going wherever and I'm going to go out and hunt for this TM, or I'm going to hunt for that address that sits on the box. I'm going to hunt for the flipped upside down screenshots in the back of the box, which, by the way, that Contra Alien Wars with the flipped upside down images in the back is extremely rare. And hopefully this helps. Like, hopefully Mynty really helps people discover that. And so, yeah, that's. I'm excited. I'm excited about it.
So let me ask you another question I had. We look at this column. I don't know what's going on here. Please just talk about the rarity column for me.
Okay. So we or I have a rarity sort of scale that I've made on my own. It's definitely not perfect. And I would also say it's not final. And if anybody else has a great idea, let's hear it. But essentially, there's 7 different tiers of rarity, and you're looking at it there. And how I base rarity is not by um, a guide that we've seen on the internet. It's based off of sales. Matter of fact, this is not implemented now, but I'm going to take it further within the next quarter, and I'm having an equation made specifically for sales to grade, or I'm sorry, to rate. And I'm basing it off of what's rare and what currently exists on the market. Because everyone says, like, a game like Earthbound is rare, but it's not. I mean, it is not common. You're not going to find it in the wild, but it is widely available on eBay right now for purchase. So there's looking at how many sales exist versus how many sales we see on a monthly basis. That determines rarity in my book. Rarity, if it's not out there and it's not being sold, well, then that's rare. So
Completely
that's
agree.
sort of how, yeah, that's sort of how I'm basing this, but it's not, it shouldn't be taken as Bible. It's definitely, there's some errors in areas, but but right now I try to get as close as I possibly can based on the data that we're seeing. 100 means like super rare, 1 being like most common.
So are there any hundreds right now?
The only ones, the only, is there? I think there is. Halo. There's a few um like pre-release boxes that were made for Halo that are,
Hmm.
I mean, impossible. Like, I think um the first one, I think they call it Mini Chief. You just won't find it. It was marketing material made that was used in like photo ops and stuff. It's almost like if you go back and watch Mike Tyson's Punch Out, the ad that they shot with Mike Tyson, there's an actual box that Nintendo printed, and it's not the version that we all see and that we all
Wow.
know. Even it's it's like it's designed to look like a black box, and it was in, and there's a cartridge too. Probably wasn't an actual game in this cartridge, but it was actually printed. So that sort of stuff, in my opinion, is like the epitome of rare. That is like rare. That's non-existent.
Yeah, I've never heard of this. That's amazing.
Yeah, go
Uh,
check it out. It's really cool. If you watch the ad, you'll see the black box. You'll see the box, and you'll see the game, and you're like, oh my God, where is that? Like, that's all I'm thinking is like, who has that? That is a one of one. So that's the same sort of uh, thing with the Master Chief. There's actually 4 uh, pre-release boxes that are
mhm.
pretty damn rare. So
And once again, continuing with the variant tracking here, you have a different rarity for each variant. Love it. Love to see it.
Yeah.
Um,
Some don't because we just haven't gotten that far yet. But yeah, most
okay.
I try to we're everything's different. Everything's on a different rarity scale. Some are more accessible than others. Yeah.
Well, Jason, let me see here. I think we are getting close to the end here because I am out of questions for you. You mentioned graded games are a work in progress. Do you have any other things, any other comments you want to make on that?
Um, yeah, I guess, well, we'll have population. I think in the beginning, it's just going to be a lot of eBay stuff. We will get into the auction houses hopefully soon after. eBay sales. Um, uh, oh, we'll be expanding too. I know that each console has like a limited number of games right now. I've been hit up about that quite a bit. A lot of people were um, I mean, not so satisfied that we didn't have full libraries of games, and we only have 6 consoles right now. That's
Uh huh.
that's that's what we're tracking. So, but just know that I have full intention of covering like as many video games as we possibly can, and all of them. There's no plans to expand any further than video games. Um, this is 100% built for us, the video game collectors, in all aspects, and not just graded, but for the casual who just want to pick up that ripped Mario Brother cartridge, or just it doesn't matter what the box looks like, to guys like me who are condition snobs and care about what the box looks like. So yeah, I a lot coming. And hopefully maybe one day it'll be a retail site where collectors like you and I can transact and sell games from our collection.
Okay. Um, I I just thought of this. I got a notification in my inbox yesterday or today that Inasuma, shout out to Inasuma, had followed me. So we haven't really talked about the social media aspect of it, but the I clicked a link to take me to the website from my email, and it had mentioned something about like a 2.99 subscription or something like that. Oh no, I think I might have seen that on your Instagram for Mynty.gg. But um, what is the difference between the free and the paid? I guess.
Uh, so free membership gives you a 7-day trial, and after 7 days, you just have sort of a profile where you can track and follow people, but it excludes mint and good value. You can see the benchmark value, which is just kind of the overall average. So it kind of locks you out of those two features. And if you become a member, it just unlocks those two features, so you're able to see mint and good. Um, so you'd still be able to connect with people, follow people, but as a free member, you won't be able to see um, the minty and good value of games.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see you're
What
very
was it?
active. You reached out to me on Instagram after I made an account. It's nice to see that you are. I don't know. I can tell that this is your child and you're really trying to make it work and everything. And I wish you nothing but the best with this website, my man. This is a great start right here.
Thank you so much, dude. Yeah, I plan on upgrading this thing as often as possible. If you follow our Instagram and or join our Discord, I literally post website updates what it seems like once, maybe even twice a week right now, where the development team is extremely active, and we're listening to feedback. So if it's good, it's good, and if anybody out there has feedback, we're totally listening and ready to implement, great ideas. So yeah, I encourage people to come check us out and um, you know, play with the site.
Last question for you. I'm sure that this is far down the line, but do you think is there plans for a mobile app someday?
Oh man, dude, thank you for asking that question actually. So let me address this first. We are actively working on implementing a mobile responsive site now. And that should be ready to go, I would say the mid-February. So mid-February, everybody who uses their cell phones for everything will love Mynty. Um, the desktop version is perfect as far as I'm concerned. Maybe not perfect, but design-wise, and it's good. The phone, not it's not great right now. It's actually kind of sucks. I'll be honest.
I haven't seen it.
But yeah, it's not that great. We kind of forgot to do a couple of things with mobile responsive, but so then what I did was we went back and said, let's redesign this whole thing for mobile. So that's going to be introduced mid-February, and then following that, yes, we're going to introduce a mobile app that should be here maybe end of the first quarter. That and it'll roll out with two brand new features that will help collectors identify their games wherever they're at without having to with their camera and stuff.
I Everything that you are promising here sounds amazing, and like I said, great start already. Thank you, Jason, for taking the time out of your day to do this, man. It was great to meet you, and yeah, the people can follow Mynty on Instagram at mynty.gg. Anything else you want to shout out here, man?
No, thanks for having me. Appreciate your time. Appreciate everybody's time. Yeah, hopefully we see you guys at Minty.
So there you have it. What are your thoughts on Mynty.gg? We've got condition and variance being tracked for the very first time on a price charting website. I really think this website is on track to become a major tool for us as collectors. Imagine being able to see the freaking sales of a Majesco release versus the first print and it actually being accurate and charted on a graph. But please drop your thoughts down below. Can you see yourself using this website? What are your hopes and wishes? Funny story, Craig and I were actually going to release an episode of Collective Perspective this week covering Mynty.gg and our initial thoughts on the website. We recorded an entire episode and then Jason messaged me on Instagram and Jason was pretty much just saying, hey, thanks for signing up, and we ended up talking for a few minutes and we decided to do this video together. So if you're interested, all channel members are going to get access to this so-called lost episode of Collective Perspective. Channel memberships are literally $1.99 a month. You get early access to content just like this. You get exclusive emojis. You get a special members only channel in the Discord and more. Thank you guys for watching this interview. I still have more great content planned for the month of January, so stay tuned for that, and I will see you guys soon.